But you still have 4 children and you're doing what you're doing, which is a lot.
It's a lot.
I mean, a lot. Let's go back. Let's get
Okay.
your story. When you were a little girl, was there sort of a epiphany or eureka moment where you knew that you were into business, fashion, styling?
So my mom used to sell cast covers. Go with me here. It's the 80s. People wanted to cover their casts with like neon spandex looking stuff. Don't know why. And she would sell it at the flea market in San Diego. And I was like, Mom, I want to sell at the flea market too. So I would spend the week making like puffy paint sweatshirts, jewelry. And my mom had a rule like she wouldn't buy me stuff, but she'd buy me the materials to make things growing up. And so I would set up my little card table next to her. I sold nothing, by the way, because no one wanted like a little girl's like dumb stuff. But I just had this like, I want to sell too. I want to be in business too. And my mom also sold Amway products. And so I watched her do that. And I think for me, I was like, I want to do that someday. I didn't know it was going to be fashion, but that was something that I liked that path.
I mean, I think that's so good for a kid, even if you weren't selling anything, to see the process of making the shirt or making the thing and then setting it up and then being at the event. I think that's important if they want to be a business owner. I think it's good practice.
It's great practice and it's great to get rejection in front of you early on.
Yeah. Talk
Because
about that.
as we know, you're rejected like your whole life as an entrepreneur, you
Yeah.
know? And I think the people that don't know that and experience it late in life, especially if they were raised by parents where everyone got an award, I think it's hard.
Yeah, I mean, I think even like this is like kind of a strange, but even doing this show for as long as we have, we still get so many no's when we reach out to people. And they must be
I'm
crazy.
shocked.
No, but I mean, over time, we've gotten more, and I think there's more people that are willing to come on these properties, but still to this day, like it's not always a yes. It's a lot of no's, and we still deal with that.
What are some rejections that you experienced really early on when you just were getting started? Maybe even before your brand.
So before the brand Good Rejections, I was a dancer in high school. I went to a performing arts high school.
Did you grow up in San Diego?
I grew up half in San Diego, then we moved to Florida when I was 9.
Okay.
And there was a multi-division department of arts. And so I got into dance, but I secretly liked other different departments that I didn't get into. And from day one, they're like, you're too tall, you ruin the symmetry, your breasts are too big. Like you can never be in the front with the boys because they haven't hit puberty. So they can't get their arms, over your head to like spin you and do pirouettes. And in the back, you just ruin the symmetry. So I was like, cool, where do I go from here? And I went to the costume department, and that's where the costume teacher was like, oh, finally someone that gives a shit about this, and really took me under her wing and taught me the craft of draping, pattern making, design. And, as hard as that was to experience, especially in your teenage years, it was a blessing in disguise because that was the path I ended up taking and loving.
So, sort of like the foundation, it sounds like, has a lot to do with costume making.
Costume making and rejection, yes.
It sounds like, too, with when you're doing costume making, sort of what flatters a body, I would think.
Yes. Yes. And what also like brings out a character's essence, right? I mean, I don't need to apply that to that degree today. We're making contemporary clothing and bags and shoes, but it definitely gives you a deeper framework for how to make a person look, what makes them feel good. It was a lot of work, but it was fun. I mean, in 4 hours a day, I was in that department, just making costumes, designing things. And I feel like getting what you would get as a first or second year student in college, I got during those 4 years in school.
So what was sort of the next step in the journey towards your brand?
So my brother knew that I wanted to move to New York for Hanukkah every year. We would be given a subscription to one magazine of our choice, and it was either W or Vogue, and he would steal the magazines, and I would wait for him to give them to me. And I just was like, I have to get to New York. That is where fashion is happening. It's where everything is going on. And my brother came home one night from a party with just like a strip of paper with a designer's number. Said, hey, this guy said maybe you can intern for him, give him a call. So I called that number. The guy, it was a very informal process. He's like, cool, when can you be here? Like, we pay $3 an hour for interns.
Was he just a random guy, or do you know who the designer was?
I didn't know of him because he was making high-end men's shirts for women, which was definitely not what I was into.
High-end men's shirts for women.
Yeah, it was before
Okay.
the boyfriend shirt.
Okay.
And
This
so
is
what was that like working for him? Did he sort of throw you into it?
So I showed up on day one expecting to like be like whisked away to the design atelier and instead the CEO looked at me, and she's still to this day a great friend and mentor. But at first she looked at me, she's like, ugh, another one of you. And she put me in the shipping department, and I was pissed. I was like, I just moved here. I'm sleeping on my cousin's kids' like playroom floor, and I moved here for this. This is not my dream. And then she put me like in every department, cutting swatches, making sales calls, assembling sales packets, like every area of the company. Sometimes I had to pick up her kid, which I was really pissed about, but she just put me to task. And then she saw that I could work hard and nothing was beneath me. Nothing was beneath me. And then was like, all right, I see you. Like, let's go from here. And where do you want to end up? And I told her, I said, I want to be a designer.
So at what point do you start to realize that you can do this on your own?
So pre-internet, I would get my work done with probably 2 or 3 hours to spare. And she said to me, if you go around and you ask everybody else what they need and they don't need anything, then you can work on your own line on the side. And so I figured out that model real quick. So I had 2 or 3 hours, and it was beginning of, I would say, 2001 that I was just like, if I'm going to work this hard, like I want it to be my name. I want it to be me calling the shots. And so that's when I started a line on the side.
And what's the first design?
The first design, although I'm known for the I Love New York shirt, was this like suit. Like if you took this suit and twisted it and had this part be over the shoulder and kind of be that way. It was like this tuxedo kind of, but on its side. So that was the first design. Which
Would you ever bring that back?
Yeah, I mean, people have brought it back since, and it's not like I was so original, but I still have it.
I feel like, what did you say the other day, Michael? Everything old is new.
No, I was saying.
What did you say?
We were talking about like the way people consume. It was funny. A lot of people now, like when videos went from horizontal to vertical. Now it's like they're going back to horizontal, and people are actually using their televisions again to watch the stuff that's produced on. It's just like I was just basically saying like
it's all coming.
Everything
it's
new
all
is
circular.
old. And, yeah, it's exactly.
We should bring it back.
Well, I'll go dig in storage and get it out for you.
Like
Maybe I'll do a try.
The archives. That's like cute. The Rebecca archives.
Yeah,
bring it out.
Like when people share this show, sometimes now they'll share that they're like watching it on their television, and that's always trippy to me.
Right.
Television.
Because they're just they're
it's
streaming
better
from
for your
YouTube.
eyes, though, right?
It is better for your eyes.
Yeah.
So what point does you start to feel momentum, like a tumbleweed? Is it really slow? Is this been something that there has been no aha moment? When do you feel that traction?
I think that there's like small moments of traction that you feel like is wind, but it's nothing compared to like later on with social media, with certain TV shows. So I would say first bit of traction was an actress wearing my shirt on Jay Leno. She said my name on national TV.
Who's the actress?
Jenna Elfman.
So cool.
Yeah. So that had its moment because it was September 11th, 2001. I sent her the t-shirt on the 9th. She wore it on the show. So like it was an I Love New York shirt. Like that had momentum because of its own, what it symbolized. I would say what that did was it opened the door that I could call a store and they didn't hang up on me, right? Or I could go walk into a store and say my name. They're like, I think I've heard of you. I'm not sure why. At the time, that felt like a lot of momentum. When I launched the bag and Daily Candy, do you remember Daily Candy?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. You're like, not so much.
Well, so I was joking. Some of these topics that come up on the show, like it would be alarming if I was like, I loved Daily Candy. Like,
we would be alarmed.
Yeah, if I just like lost my shit, you'd be like, oh, it's a little bit of a red flag.
So that was huge when they wrote up. I mean, that put me on the map. It's like Oprah Daily Candy.
Did you create the I Love New York shirt because of 9/11, or did you just create it and then that happened?
I created it. I was already starting to sell it. And then obviously 9/11 happened, and then that shirt was perfect. And I was donating the proceeds, to rescue efforts, Red Cross. So like it had its own like 9-month life of just, that's all I did.
Were you in the city when that happened?
I was.
Wow.
Yeah, I was in Soho. Well, when it happened, I was at a cotton seminar, believe it or not. learning all about cotton. And, a woman came in and she had this thick Southern accent. She's like, a plane has hit a building. And I was like, what are you talking? Like, obviously, no one knew what she was talking about. And then, like, the world stopped.
What did you do when that happened? You
What I
remember?
did was I went to a payphone to call my parents because they had just visited me. I had my first fashion show the night before. And I knew they were on their way to the airport. So I was like, I hope that they're okay. And they were in a cab, rerouted. They were like, we're going to drive home. You need to get in the car with us. We'll come pick you up. Like, we're leaving. Like,